All along the Western Front, people line up to receive. She got the power in her hand.
What's up? What's up?
You like you won't believe.
What's up? What's up?
Saw her in the Amazon, with the voltage running through her skin. Standing there
Testing,
with
testing,
nothing
testing.
on.
Just put the mic up a
She
little. There
gonna
you go.
teach
There
me
you go.
how to swim.
What is up? It's been a while. It's been close to well over a month because the last show I did was taken off. I guess I played too much of the songs. Somebody didn't like it. The algorithm didn't like it. They kicked it out. But this is In My Circle. I'm Ralph. And what is up? I mean, it's been a whirlwind. It's been some turbulent times that we are in right now. But I just want to go back and highlight something that I always, people that I speak to on a daily, you know, I'm constantly, must have spoke to like maybe 6 or 7 people today on different topic related to one thing, and took full circle and stuff. And in the not just today, but in the last couple weeks, the conversation of Columbus just came up. If people don't know who I'm talking about, is the sailor, the discoverer of jack shit, Christopher Columbus. Also know him as his other name, Cristobal Colon. Well, people know him as Christopher Columbus because Washington Irving wrote a magnificent book. I'm not going to lie. He wrote a magnificent book about the life and voyages of Christopher Columbus. And you can easily fact check this, Google it. It's a great book. I have maybe 4 or 5 copies, different copies, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 3, definitely 3. But I have here one of the more known versions, the black faded, hardcover with Irving on the top, The Life and Voyages of Christopher Columbus. Well, people don't know that in these types of Irving books, he has a lot of his writings in these types of books. So there's like Friends of Columbus. There's a lot of different books relating to exploration, discovery, and all, like travel, different stories, different novels and type stories that, that Washington Irving wrote as a writer, and he compiled them in all these types of books. There were 3 or 4, I think, that were directly related to and surrounding Christopher Columbus. If you ever read it, I think I'm maybe halfway, maybe 1/3, maybe. I know the most of the story, but I'm reading it for my own self, my own mental, not my own mental, my own fact checking, because if people don't know, this is a fictional biographical book. Yes, I said that again. I'll say it again. It's fiction. Google it. Google the exact title, The Life and Voyages of Christopher Columbus. It's fiction. It says it right there. Google it. Search it any way, which way you can fact check it. What makes it a fiction is that the writings are based on his diaries. His diaries of, exploration on the seas. Remember when, Columbus was at sea, it's not like he had TV, he had phones, he was on a ship, God knows how long, maybe months, long time, long periods of time. And, if you're not fraternizing with your crew, because at that time, you know, certain certain ships or certain captains did not fraternize with their crew. Who knows what kind of explorer, what kind of captain, what of kind of admiral, right? Admiral of the seas he was, because that's the title they gave him. And the reason why I'm questioning admiral, it's not an, it's an, it's a tongue twister. He's not an admirable man, I guess, to be an admirable, it's a still tongue twister. But back to what I was saying. The story is highly based on a series of collections of his diary or diaries, and the magnificent Washington Irving wrote such an amazing story that everybody gravitated to the story. Those who he wrote this book in the early 1800s, I think the 1838. If I'm not mistaken, 1828, 1838. I can check this right here. 1828. I was close. I'm always so 1828. The story. Now we're almost 400 years into the story of Columbus. Remember, from 1400, 1492 to 1828, almost close to 400, but 400 years. So you're getting a diary, some of his own words, and then Washington Irving, the great Washington Irving, legend. He's a legend. I mean, he wrote a magnificent book. He adds and fills in what essentially was missing. Adding, the detail. If Christopher Columbus left out this, what kind of texture the sandy beaches had. Well, Washington Irving added his description of how sandy the beach was. And what I also have, I think this version, this one was from, this is from I just ripped it, I guess. That's all right, I ripped it. I have a second one. This is more or less the late 1800s, early 1900s. Yeah, early 1900s, late, I think, if I'm not mistaken. This is early 1900s, like 1900 or 18. No, this is 1900s, early 1900s. We'll say this is probably 1910. We'll say, I think 1910, around that, give or take. I have a copy here also from 1884. 1884. It's very, really, really old. Like it's delicate. I just took a piece off it. I don't really care. This is my personal. This is 18. This is from the 1884. And you can see the difference. Slight difference, right? Slight difference. Well, this is just the story of the voyages, right? Of Christopher Columbus. This is only one volume. Well, in here, it has most of the volumes that it can compile into this very delicate book. Also, is significant is in this book there is a passage of references, or I guess comments from different people around that time, or a direct, this is, what was in the books, or in the book to begin with, because many details in different volumes are in this one book, while this version only has this volume, this version. Well, this book, right? It's the same book, but this has much more information. This has a complex index, or there's a section in the middle where it gives you different types of information. The point I'm getting to is that in this book, it tells you, right, not only that this is fiction, but some of the documents that either Washington Irving or whoever was putting this copy, remember, 1828, 1884. We're talking about 60-something years difference. So this could have been after. Obviously the books are the more important part of the book becomes the more important seller, whereas to all the other volumes were left out to get straight to the point. This book, as frail and fragile as it looks. This is 1884. This is a almost good 100 years, I say, or more. Right, 125 years maybe, right? Something like that. Close to it. Maybe 100 years, 100 something years. Maybe 100 years. So definitely more. Definitely more, a little bit more than 100 years. So this tells you in here, whereas to whoever is putting this book together with these references, they're talking about the documents being altered or being manipulated somehow. Meaning that the story of Washington Irving is telling you in this book that it was fiction. Can you Google for me, Ruben, the life and voyages of Washington Irving? As you hear me speaking, it's going to come up. The life and voyages of Washington Irving, and you're going to see as soon as you came up, Washington Irving, it came up, Life and Voyages, under the more, there you go, right under, see it? Right there. And you go to the Wikipedia section, just that, yeah. If I don't know if you can blow it up a little bit so that they can see. I don't know if you can. The page, magnify it a little bit. Right, that first line where it says a history, right there, a history of the life and voyages of Christopher Columbus, is a fictional biographical account of Christopher Columbus written by Washington Irving in 1828. It was published in 4 volumes in Britain and in 3 volumes, so you could see what I'm trying to tell you. Different volumes, different versions, but you see it's a fictional account. It's a fictional book. So what am I telling you? What parts of this that they believe and leave out in regular modern times, I guess? None. The Irish immigrants, and what I'm saying, this relates to the times today. The Irish immigrants got a hold of this story as they were coming here to the New World, right? In the 1800s, 1850. We're talking about the 5 Points, Tammany Hall, right? You know, I don't know if people know that far the history of that. Tammany Hall was one of the most corrupted, you know, political, you know, that was 5 Points, New York. You know, if you ever watched the movie Gangs of New York, it's a very, very, very in-depth view of how that time was. And it beat you over the head if you didn't vote their way. Well, remember, in that, the Irish immigrants was coming over. Well, they had nobody but themselves. So they didn't know if Columbus was Irish, Italian, or not. But they seen him as an immigrant or as a person from Europe, whatever, from overseas. They came here, so they wanted to gravitate to him. So they gravitated to him, and he was their hero. True story. True story. Fact check this. It is true. So they gravitated and said he's our hero. The Washington Irving book gave Irish immigrants hope, which is an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing. They didn't know it was fiction, but it gave them hope. You know, God bless the fact that they were able to use that book as hope. But circling back to then the Italian immigrants who came here after. I'm not saying that in a timeline or everything, but during a certain time after the Irish immigrants, you know, was an influx or a lot of thereafter, the Italians were coming. And like everybody, immigrants were being persecuted by the natives. And we're not talking about the indigenous people. We're not talking about the indigenous people of this land that were already here. They were already getting persecuted. We're talking about the native Europeans, the pilgrim type, the colonials that were here first. And they called themselves the natives. You know. Well, they were persecuting them. They were persecuting the Irish, you know, the blacks, the Spanish, and most importantly, at that moment, the Italians. So much that when the Italians were bringing their Italian culture to New Orleans, you know, officials seeing they were committing crimes, and so they gave a noose to about, I think, 11 Italian immigrants, saying that they were committing crimes. And, you know, well, the Italian, you know, community during that time took it as a slap in the face and, you know, what are they doing? And so they stumbled onto Columbus, who was said to be from Genoa. But remember, we don't know. because Washington Irving pretty much embellished 80% of this story. He embellished it. The other 20 is just solely based on loosely words of a diary. Now, why do people say, well, why are you talking about Columbus? Why are you trying to cancel him? I'm not trying to cancel him. I'm just trying to have a debate, discussion, and I guess an informal, I'm just trying to let people know that we have been lied to. Remember, his story, it isn't our story. I mean, Columbus's story is not even his story. Isn't that insane? That Columbus's story is not even his story. It's somebody else's story. But it's history that they say we're trying to cancel, right? You can't cancel the history of Columbus. Spain has all the archives, all the information. Where do you think Washington Irving got some of his inspiration from? He went to Spain. All that stuff is there. And people would say, well, why do you want to erase the history? No, I'm not trying to erase the history. I'm trying to tell it how it's supposed to be told. If you're going to tell it from the side where it needs to be told. Tell it from the side, well, we heard Washington Irving's version, right? He told it from Columbus's point of view, from the diaries. Well, as a learning curve, I advise you to look up Bartolome de las Casas. He was a friar. His uncle and his father were sailors before him. They jumped on his, on his third ship. I think it was his third ship, right? His third voyage. His third voyage is his third voyage back to the Americas. Well, back to the islands. And where his third voyage turned dark, and a innocent, sailor by the name of Bartolome de las Casas, witnessed in one day a massacre, a genocide of 3,000 indigenous Taino Arawak people. And him witnessing this, he turned himself over to God. He decided to be a priest and the protector of the Taino. He even wrote a number of books, The Destruction of the West Indies, and I forget the other book's name. Don't quote me, but I actually own both books. You want to know what I'm doing? So it's insane. Is I'm currently reading the Washington Irving books, right? Currently reading the book as I'm reading the Bartolome de las Casas version. So I can get a cool, innocent story, right? From somebody else's eyes and somebody's words, from somebody's eyewitness account, and tells you the brutality and genocide. It isn't for the faint of heart. But if you want the truth about who Cristobal Colon, or Fernando Zalco, we don't know. If you want to know the truth, you got to read those books, Bartolome de las Casas, or even Google Bartolome de las Casas, YouTube, who he was, and you can see clear as day who this man was. During the time he was a protector, he fought, voiced his opinions. Remember, church ruled over anything. If a priest or a church told you you're wrong, you didn't want to piss off the church, because, right, they were doing it in the name of Christ, and they were, Columbus and the conquistadors. They were conquerors in the name of Christ. So they were conquering, keeping, offering the lives of the indigenous if they converted to Christianity. Some didn't. Some, who are these guys? Who are these guys coming with shiny swords, shiny skin? The steel, the protection. Dogs, horses. The indigenous never. The Taino, Arawak people never seen these types of individuals. Immediately they thought they were gods. They just came in some big boat, big ship, and they wanted to trade. And at first, like I said, they were very, very good to each other. They were, until Columbus left and came back after the destruction of La Navidad. Well, I'm not going to get into what happened at the La Navidad. It was hearsay, both sides. I cannot say who was wrong with La Navidad, but what happened was my ancestors were taken captive, enslaved, taken advantage of. I can't, for YouTube's sake, I can't even go into complete detail of exactly how insane the story of Columbus really was. I've heard a story, well, he never hurt anybody, or he did it in the name of conquest, or if he never found America, we would not be here. Eventually somebody would have found it. I mean, we don't talk about Prince Henry St. Clair, right? He explored the New World in 1398. We don't talk about Amerigo Vespucci, right? Or Leif Erikson. Amerigo Vespucci was an Italian explorer. Oh, what a name, Amerigo. Now think about it. Amerigo Vespucci, that is who we named America after. And the only reason why Columbus gets his flowers is because he created the engagement. That's it. He engaged in a new world. That is it. That is all. Took the wrong turn, got lost, didn't listen to the directions, got lost and stumbled into another world. And that's why he gets credit. If Washington Irving never wrote the book about Christopher Columbus, this topic would not even be. Columbus would not even be dust on a cow shit's a piece of cow shit. I'm just being real. We want to be talking about him, but since Washington Irving gave him the air, gave him life, that is the reason why not me, but society celebrates him. Some of us don't, some of us do. I'm one that doesn't. I live by the line that we should not idolize false prophets. He was a false prophet. He came on the business of God, right? And committed genocide in the name of God, in the name of the church. It's a false prophet. God teaches me not to idolize those types of people. It's the truth. It's facts. But I just want to highlight that. Google it. It's there. Check it out. Real history stuff. Real facts. Nothing woke about it. It's real. What is woke about it is that it's legitimately fictional. So you cannot erase that history. But the story is fictional. You can make your conclusions. Listen, like, subscribe, and follow. Share this story. Let me know what you think of what I'm doing here. Comment. Let's have a debate. If you don't like the story, let me know. But you cannot deny what I'm telling you is real. That the story of Columbus is fiction. It's crazy. I dropped some gems tonight, some jewels, some knowledge. I even came in with an actual copy of 1884 version of Life and Voyages of Christopher Columbus. Yep, I looked through it, skimmed through it. It's a beautiful book, dusty as shit. So is the other one. I have multiple copies. I picked up the whole entire all his volumes. Is maybe like 10 or something like that. 10 or 12, I don't know. But I seen them on eBay, and I picked them up. Figured why not? And I said I know the story. Why not read the fictional story? And I also have the Bartolome de las Casas books. I mean, like I said, read them, order them. You can find them on eBay, $2 or $3, $5. If you believe the story of Columbus, do not ignore the story of Bartolome de las Casas. My name is Ralph, also known as Ralphie Rotten. I'm a DJ. This is In My Circle. And this is a true listen, I'm not obsessed. The story came up, and I don't just talk about Columbus around Columbus Day. I'm always, somebody jokingly said something to me that I was always trying to educate. I was always trying to educate or trying to school somebody on some knowledge, and not in a bad way, but it was like, yeah, you were. I said, yeah, I was always trying to like get somebody on some knowledge back, and they're like, yeah, but we were kids and we weren't ready for your type of knowledge. But as we're older, we love and appreciate that you have this knowledge, and I'm blessed that I have people that are in my corner like that, appreciate it. And, but that's one of the reasons why I want to focus, because it's just been it was an idea of mine. And yeah, like here I have Columbus books, different books, written books. I have 1491, New Revelations of the Americas Before Columbus, Columbus the Four Voyages, the journals and other documents on the life and voyages of Christopher Columbus. The Explorers. This isn't anything about Columbus. It's actually about one of Columbus's sailors or something like that. And tell us his eyewitness account. So it's really it's really, yeah, don't ask me how I found that story. I don't forget. I think I forget. But it's kind of cool, that I came in here with books and I stand on my business. I think it's cool that if you research, you can find the truth. Truth is out there. Just got to open a book. We just lost the way of, some of us just lost our way to properly research information. But again, like, subscribe, share, comment. Let me know what you think. I know it's a great topic. Prove me wrong. I don't think you can. I mean, I gave you the facts. Fact check it if you have to. Again, I'm Ralph, also known as Ralphie Rotten. I'm a DJ. This is In My Circle. And thank you for watching. Thank you for viewing. And let me know what you think. All right? I'm out. Peace.